Welcome back to Everyday English Lounge. I am Mia, and wherever you are right now, on a train, in the kitchen, walking a little too fast, or sitting in the car before you go inside, we are very glad you pressed play.
And I am Leo. If you're folding laundry, first, respect. Second, I hope at least one sock survives this episode with its partner.
That is your opening contribution today, Sock Grief?
It is honest. We are a real-life podcast. Real life has dreams, goals, and one lonely sock.
Fair. And actually, that fits today better than I want to admit, because some dreams feel big and beautiful, and daily life feels like one sock, two dishes, three messages, and not enough energy.
Yes, sometimes the dream in your heart is huge, but your Tuesday evening is tiny.
If that gap has been making you feel a little sad or a little behind, stay with us. This episode is for that feeling.
We are talking about dreams, goals, and the small actions we do every day, or do not do every day. We should be honest from the start.
Here, we believe in quiet progress, real schedules, and beginning again without drama.
Also, if your dream currently lives inside a notebook you bought 6 months ago, we see you.
That notebook did not deserve that.
The notebook knows what it did.
Today, we want to make this easy to follow. We will speak clearly, we will repeat the important ideas in different ways. And near the end, we will do a proper word tour so you can learn useful vocabulary without pressure. This episode is around B1 to B2 level, so if a phrase feels new, stay with the main idea first. You can always come back and listen again later.
And one small note early on. If this episode helps you feel a little steadier, you can follow the channel and pass it on to one person who needs a softer voice around. Progress.
So let us begin simply. A dream is a bigger picture. A goal is more concrete. And a small daily action is the bridge between the two.
That sounds neat when you say it like that. But in real life, the bridge is often made of 5 minutes, low battery, and one slightly dramatic human being.
Here is why this matters. A lot of people are not lazy. They are not careless. They are not unserious. They are carrying a dream, but they do not know how to touch it on an ordinary day.
Or they know how, but the action looks so small that it feels almost insulting. Like, really? My great dream gets 10 minutes before bed?
Yes. And that is where many people quietly give up. Not because the dream disappeared, but because the daily version of the dream looked unimpressive.
Which is such a painful little trap. We think real progress should feel cinematic. Music in the background, wind in our hair, a notebook that finally changes our life.
But most real change does not begin in a cinematic way. It begins in a plain moment. You sit down, you open the thing. You do a small, honest part.
And for English learners listening right now, this topic is not only about dreams in general. It is also about your English. Maybe your dream is to speak more freely, study abroad, change jobs, travel alone, make international friends, or simply stop feeling small when English enters the room.
So while we talk, I want you to keep one question close. What dream in your life keeps getting pushed into later?
And what would count as touching it today? Not someday, but today.
Let us start with the emotional difference between a dream and a daily action. A dream gives direction. It tells you what matters. But a daily action gives evidence. It gives proof that the dream has entered your real life.
That word proof matters, because sometimes people say, I still care about it, and I believe them. But care without context starts to feel painful. You love the dream, but you never meet it.
Exactly. The dream stays in your imagination, and your imagination becomes a beautiful place that also hurts you a little.
I am thinking of a listener we can imagine. Let us call her Mina. She wants to improve her English because she dreams about working in a hotel in another country. She can picture it clearly. She sees herself speaking calmly at a front desk, smiling, answering questions, helping tired travelers.
In her mind, that future version of her looks confident and warm. But right now, Mina finishes work late. She goes home, helps her mother, washes dishes, answers 2 family messages, and suddenly it is 9:40 at night.
She had imagined 1 full hour of study, a whole serious hour, new notebook energy, but now she has 12 minutes and low brain power.
So she tells herself, 12 minutes is not enough. Real study starts tomorrow. And then tomorrow says the same thing.
That line is brutal. Real study starts tomorrow. So many dreams die inside that sentence.
Or fall asleep inside it. Sometimes the dream is not dead. It is just waiting for us to stop being grand and start being real.
I want to challenge something there, though, because sometimes people hear be real and turn it into stop dreaming big. I do not think that is your point.
It is not. I do not want smaller dreams. I want better contact with the dream. Keep the big dream, protect it, love it. But also ask, what is the version of this dream that fits inside tonight?
That is good. Not a smaller life, just a smaller doorway.
Yes, maybe Mina listens to 3 minutes of hotel English. Maybe she repeats 5 useful lines out loud. Maybe she writes one sentence about a guest checking in. Tiny, yes, but not meaningless.
And this is important. A small action is not the same as a symbolic action. There is a difference. Buying pens is not the same as practicing.
A real small action touches the real thing. If your dream is to write, write 2 sentences. If your dream is to get stronger, do 10 minutes of movement. If your dream is to speak English, open your mouth and speak, even if it is awkward.
So the question is not, what is the impressive step? The question is, what is the honest step?
Exactly. Honest is the word. Honest is better than dramatic.
Can I offer a phrase that helped me once?
Please.
I call it a tiny floor. The floor is the smallest version of the action that still counts, not the ideal version, the minimum real version. 5 minutes of reading, 1 paragraph, 1 message sent. The floor is low on purpose, so you can actually step on it.
I like that. And I like it because a floor is not a ceiling. Doing 5 minutes does not stop you from doing 20. It simply removes the excuse that you need the perfect conditions before you begin.
Right. The tiny floor says, you may do more, but you may always do this.
If you are listening, think about your own tiny floor. Not your fantasy version. Your real version. What can you do on a tired Tuesday, on a crowded Wednesday, on a day when your mind feels messy?
Because that version is the one that builds a life. Not the version of you who appears once a month with a strong playlist and surprising discipline.
There is also an emotional misunderstanding here. People often think small action means weak commitment, but very often the opposite is true. A person who keeps returning in small ways may be more serious than a person who waits for giant bursts of motivation.
Thank you. Let me confess something. Years ago, I said I wanted to get better piano again. Not become a concert pianist. Just play with ease. Enjoy it. Feel my hands remember music. Very noble, very moving.
I can already hear the disaster.
The disaster was that I kept planning the perfect return. I wanted a clean hour, a calm room, my favorite tea, the right mood, and the feeling that today was a proper restart.
So naturally you played once every 1,000 years.
Correct. Meanwhile, the keyboard sat there like a disappointed ant.
That is a very specific image.
It earned that image. Then one evening I played for 7 minutes before dinner. No ceremony, no playlist, no life transformation. Just scales and one simple song.
And what changed?
Not my skill overnight. My relationship to the dream changed. It stopped being a pretty identity and became a living thing again. That was the shift. I was no longer someone who misses piano. I was a person who had touched the piano today.
That is such a meaningful distinction. Sometimes the first gift of a small action is not progress you can measure. It is relief, the relief of contact. Guilt often grows in empty space. When there is no contact, guilt gets loud. A small action does not solve everything, but it quiets that noise.
I want to add one more scene because some dreams are not career dreams or public dreams. Some are quiet. Maybe your dream is to be calmer, to be more patient with your kids, to become the kind of person who reads instead of scrolling at night. Those dreams matter too.
They do, and they also need daily contact. If your dream is peace, maybe the small action is 2 minutes of silence before you enter the house. If your dream is deeper relationships, maybe the small action is one honest message instead of another delayed reply. So here is the listener question for this first part. When you imagine your dream, what daily life scene do you usually avoid imagining? The dishes, the bus ride, the late shift, the tired mind. Start there. That is where your real bridge lives.
Because if your dream cannot enter ordinary life, it stays a poster, beautiful, inspiring, and flat.
The second movement here is about disappointment, not just starting, but continuing. Because many people can do a small action once. The harder question is what happens after an imperfect week.
Ah, yes, the classic human experience. One missed day becomes a courtroom.
Exactly, you miss Tuesday, and suddenly the mind says, interesting. So this is who we are. A person who never follows through.
The mind is so rude sometimes, also very dramatic. It takes one missed run and writes a full biography.
And the danger is not the missed day itself. The danger is the meaning we attach to it.
I want to underline that. A missed day is an event. I did not do the thing today. That is all. But many people turn it into an identity sentence. I am inconsistent. I am weak. I always quit.
In simple words, we confuse a moment with a self. And once that happens, returning feels heavier than it should.
This happened to me with walking every morning. I had a very humble goal, 20 minutes before work. Not a heroic mountain story, just walking. For 6 days I walked. Day 7, it rained. Day 8, I overslept. Day 9, I looked at the shoes like they had personally betrayed me.
Which they had not.
No, but my thinking had changed. Instead of saying I missed 2 days, I started saying, well, that routine is broken. Broken. Such a final word for such a small interruption.
This is where I want to gently push back against the word consistency, because people use it in a harsh way. True consistency is not never missing. True consistency is returning without making the return a moral drama.
That is very good. Say it again in a simpler way.
Consistency is not a perfect line. It is a pattern of return.
There it is, a pattern of return. That sounds kinder and more accurate.
And more useful. Because if you think consistency means perfection, you will quit often. If you think consistency means return, you become harder to stop.
Listener, I want to ask you something direct. When you miss one day, what is the first sentence your mind says? Is it practical, like I need a better time? Or is it personal, like I never do anything right?
That first sentence matters because it shapes the next week. If the sentence is cruel, the dream feels unsafe. If the sentence is steady, the dream can continue.
There's another misunderstanding here. Some people think being gentle with yourself means lowering the standard. I do not think that is true.
Neither do I. Gentle is not the same as big. Gentle can be very clear. For example, I did not practice this week. I do care about this. I will do 10 minutes tonight. That is gentle and firm at the same time.
And notice how clean that sounds. No speech, no punishment, no grand restart on the first day of next month.
Let me give another scene. Imagine a woman who dreams of starting a small online bakery. She works full-time. She has 2 children. For months, she says she is researching, which mostly means saving recipes and watching other bakers online.
Very educational, also very safe.
Exactly. One Saturday, she finally tests a recipe. It goes badly. The texture is wrong. The timing is off. The kitchen looks like a flour storm happened. And one child announces that the first batch tastes confusing.
Children are fearless critics.
She laughs, but inside she feels crushed, because the dream touched reality and reality was imperfect. So now, she is tempted to go back to research mode, where she can still imagine being naturally good at it.
That is such a real moment. Sometimes we do not avoid action because action is hard. We avoid action because action gives feedback and feedback ends fantasy.
Yes, a small daily action does something powerful. It does not only move the dream forward, it also tells the truth. It tells you what is working, what is weak, what needs practice, what needs time.
And truth can sting, but it is useful. Fantasy feels warm, but it cannot guide you.
So the bakery dream survives not because she magically becomes amazing in one weekend. It survives because she bakes again. She changes one ingredient. She tries a shorter bake time. She asks one friend to taste it. She lets the dream become teachable.
That phrase is excellent. Let the dream become teachable.
Because if your dream can only exist when it is flattering, it is too fragile to live. There is also a learner angle here. English progress often disappears because people want to sound good before they are willing to sound real. They wait to speak until they can speak smoothly. But smoothness comes after many imperfect attempts.
Which means the small action must sometimes include embarrassment, not huge embarrassment. We are not asking you to shout in a shopping mall, but maybe you record your voice. Maybe you join a short speaking practice. Maybe you say a full answer instead of hiding in one-word replies.
That is important. If your goal is spoken English, a real small step usually includes sound, not just silent understanding. The real thing needs some contact with the real skill.
So maybe this week your tiny floor is one voice note. 30 seconds. Today I felt tired, but I still studied. That counts.
More than counts. It teaches courage.
And if you miss 3 days?
Return on day 4.
And if day 4 is messy?
Return messily.
And if the inner critic says, this is pathetic?
Then answer, no, this is practice. Here is the second listener question. Do you secretly believe that meaningful progress must look impressive from the outside? If yes, that belief may be making your daily life harder than it needs to be.
Because some of the strongest people I know have very quiet routines. No announcement, no performance, just contact, return, contact, return.
And over time, that becomes trust. You begin to trust yourself not because you are perfect, but because you know you come back.
The third part of this conversation is about identity. Not the shiny identity we post, but the private identity we build through repetition.
Yes, because after a while, small actions stop feeling small. They begin to answer a deeper question, which is, who am I becoming?
Imagine a father sitting in his parked car for 8 minutes before he goes into the office. He has a dream of changing careers in 2 years. He wants to move from a job that drains him into one that uses his language skills more. Every morning, before he walks inside, he reads one short article in English and writes 2 useful phrases and a note on his phone.
Not glamorous, not dramatic, no sunrise montage.
Very little wind in the hair.
Especially in a parked car.
Thank you. But day by day, something important is happening. He is not only learning phrases, he is becoming a person who makes room for the future self he says he wants.
That sentence matters. We become trustworthy to ourselves when our calendar and our values finally meet, even for a few minutes.
And this is where I want to challenge a softer mistake. Sometimes people hear small steps and use them to stay too safe. They do tiny actions forever, but the actions never get closer to the real risk.
I agree. A small step should be small, but it should still point at the truth. If your dream is to speak, you must eventually speak to a person. If your dream is to apply for a program, you must eventually send an application. If your dream is to share your art, you must eventually let someone see it.
So small is not hiding. Small is a way in.
Exactly. Approach is a great word. You are moving toward the real thing in manageable pieces.
That is why I love the phrase, one small brave action. Not just one small action, one small brave action. Brave means it touches the edge of what matters.
It may help to ask 2 questions together. What is small enough that I can do it today? And what is brave enough that it is not fake?
That is a very strong pair of questions.
Let me give you a scene from my own life. A few years ago, I had an idea for a long writing project. I cared about it deeply, which unfortunately made me behave very strangely around it. I would think about it while washing dishes, walking, cooking, working. I had pages in my mind. But when it was time to write, I became precious about it. I wanted the right morning, the right energy, the right brain. It is almost embarrassing. One day I had 15 minutes before leaving home. I sat down and wrote 6 ugly lines. They were not elegant. They were barely alive. But they were real.
And 6 ugly lines have more future in them than 60 beautiful imaginary pages.
Exactly. Over time, those plain little sessions changed how I saw myself. I stopped saying, I want to be someone who writes this project. I started saying, I am writing it, slowly.
That shift is enormous. The dream moved from identity wish to lived identity.
Yes, and lived identity is calmer. It needs less performance. You do not have to keep proving how much you care, because the action is already speaking.
I think that is why small daily actions can feel emotionally healing. They reduce the argument inside you. The part that hopes and the part that doubts are no longer fighting as much because both can see evidence.
Evidence does not have to be dramatic. A page, a practice session, a saved amount of money, one lesson, one email, one walk, one conversation. Small pieces can carry a surprising amount of dignity.
Dignity is a lovely word here. Because when people talk about goals, they sometimes sound aggressive. Push harder, crush it, maximize. But many listeners are not looking for aggression. They are looking for steadiness.
Steadiness, yes. A steadier way to keep a promise to yourself.
I want to speak to the listener who feels late. Maybe you are 35 and changing direction. Maybe you are 50 and finally studying English seriously. Maybe you are 20 and already scared you missed your chance because someone online seems faster than you.
You are not behind in the way panic tells you that you are. You may be early in the honest version. The honest version begins when you stop performing your desire and start practicing it.
Here is another quiet thing worth saying. Not every dream needs public air. Some dreams grow better in privacy. You do not always need to announce your plan, defend your timeline, or let other people's opinions enter too early.
I agree. Sometimes the small daily action is private protection. You keep showing up before the world gets a vote. Say you want to improve your English, but people around you joke when you practice out loud. Maybe your daily action happens on your walk, in your parked car, in the shower, with earphones in notes on your phone. Private does not mean weak. Private can be wise.
And then one day, the private work becomes public ability. You answer more smoothly. You understand more. You feel less fear. People call it sudden confidence, but it was not sudden. It was quiet repetition.
That is true for almost everything worth building. The outside world often sees the flower, not the roots. Can we talk about resentment for a moment? Because sometimes when a dream keeps waiting, we do not only feel sad, we feel bitter. We start to envy people who seem to have more time or more support.
That is real. And pretending it is not real does not help. But envy can sometimes point to buried desire. It shows you what still matters. The question is whether you turn that energy outward into comparison or inward into one useful step.
So instead of saying, "Why are they ahead?" you ask, "What is one thing I can do with the life I actually have?"
Yes, your actual life is where the work begins, not the future life with better timing, better confidence, and magical childcare. But until then, the honest path is smaller and more human. A dream survives through adaptation. Seasons change, work changes, energy changes. Your daily action may need to change too.
That matters, because people sometimes keep the same routine after their life changes, then blame themselves when it stops working. So if the old plan is dead, bury the plan. Do not bury the dream. Before we move toward the word tour, I want to leave you with one last story. Imagine a listener named Anna who dreams of starting over in a new city next year. She thinks the dream is about money, paperwork, language, and planning. And yes, it is partly about those things. But beneath all that, the deeper question is, can I become a person who stays close to what matters, even when the path is long?
That is the real exam, isn't it?
Yes. So each night, Anna does 3 small things. She reads 1 page in English. She checks 1 practical step for her move. She writes 1 line about why she wants this life. Some nights she does more, some nights only that. But those small actions are teaching her something deeper than information. They are teaching her self-trust.
And self-trust is not built by hype. It is built by enough ordinary evidence.
So if your dream feels far away tonight, do not ask only, "How do I get there?" Also ask, "How do I stay in relationship with it this week?"
Relationship is the word. A dream is not a test you pass once. It is something you return to, shape, repair, and re-enter.
And if you have been distant from it, you do not need a dramatic apology. You need contact.
One small brave action.
1 small brave action. All right, let us slow down and do our word tour. Word 1 is dream. A dream is a picture of a future you deeply want. It is often emotional and a little bigger than a plan. Example, My dream is to live in a new city and feel at home there one day. Repeat. Dream.
A dream can be clear or not fully clear. You may not know every step yet, but you know it matters. Repeat. Dream.
Word 2 is goal. A goal is more specific than a dream. It gives shape, direction, and often a timeline. Example: my goal is to pass the exam in October. Or my goal is to save enough money by December. Repeat. Goal.
A dream might be, I want a different life, and a goal might be, I will apply to 3 programs this year. A goal helps the dream walk. Repeat. Goal.
Word 3 is tiny. Tiny means very small. But in this episode, tiny does not mean weak or silly. It means small enough to do in real life. Example: I only had a tiny window of time, so I practiced for 6 minutes. Repeat. Tiny.
Tiny can still be real. A tiny action can open a big door if you repeat it. Tiny is better than imaginary. Repeat. Tiny.
Word 4 is routine. A routine is something you do regularly, often in a similar way. Example: my evening routine includes 10 minutes of reading in English. Repeat. Routine.
A routine does not need to look impressive. It needs to be repeatable. If it fits your life, it has a better chance to last. Repeat. Routine.
Word 5 is the phrase show up. To show up means to arrive and do the thing, even in a small way. Example: I was tired, but I still showed up for practice. Repeat. Show up.
I love this phrase because it is warm and strong at the same time. You may not shine every day, but you can still show up. Repeat. Show up.
Word 6 is stuck. If you feel stuck, you feel unable to move or change. Example: I felt stuck because my dream was big, but I did not know the next step. Repeat. Stuck.
Sometimes stuck just means you need a smaller next move. It is not the end. It is information. Repeat. Stuck.
Word 7 is realistic. Realistic means sensible and possible in real conditions. Example: 1 hour every night was not realistic, but 10 minutes after dinner was. Repeat. Realistic.
A realistic plan is not a weak plan. It respects energy, time, and ordinary life. Realistic plans are often the ones that survive. Repeat. Realistic.
Word 8 is behind. If you feel behind, you feel later or slower than other people or later than your own plan. Example: I felt behind when I saw everyone else's progress online. Repeat. Behind.
Many people use this word when they compare their inside life to someone else's highlight. Feeling behind does not always mean you are behind. Repeat. Behind.
Word 9 is proof. Proof is evidence that something is real or true. In this episode, small actions are proof that your dream has entered your real life. Example: that short practice session was proof that I still care. Repeat. Proof.
Proof does not need to be loud. A page written, a walk taken, a lesson finished, a voice note recorded. These are quiet forms of proof. Repeat. Proof.
Word 10 is return. To return means to come back after stopping, drifting, or missing some time. Example: I missed 3 days, but I returned on Thursday. Repeat. Return.
This may be the heart of today's episode. Return is not failure. Return is the skill. Return is how a dream stays alive. Repeat. Return.
Take a slow breath with us for a second. If this episode touched a tender place, you do not need to fix your whole life tonight.
You only need one honest point of contact. One small brave action is enough for today.
Your tiny homework is simple. Write down your dream, turn it into one clear goal, and choose one action you can do in less than 10 minutes.
Then do that action before the day ends, even if it is messy, even if the socks are still not matched.
And we would love to hear from you in the comments. First, what dream are you trying to stay close to right now?
Second, what is the small action you will take in the next 24 hours?
If this conversation helped, you can follow the channel and come back for the next episode.
And share it with a friend who needs less pressure and more steady courage.
Thank you for spending this time with us. And thank you for letting your real life be enough room for growth.
Even if you listened while folding laundry, hiding in the car, or being quietly judged by a notebook on a shelf.
I am Mia.
And I am Leo. This is Everyday English Lounge, and we will be here when you come back.